Last month, Craig Revel-Horwood opened up about the abuse he suffered at the hands of his alcoholic father as part of our Facing It Together domestic abuse campaign. And someone else who knows only too well the pain of living with an abusive parent is broadcaster and journalist Victoria Derbyshire, and she is here to share her story with us today. Please welcome Victoria. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Victoria. It's lovely to see you here, Victoria. And I'm guessing even after all of these years, you tell your story and it still feels like it's someone else's. It's a difficult one to completely process because there wasn't a precise moment that you remember it starting. It was almost like a fabric of the family, weirdly.
It was, yeah. So my childhood was very tense a lot of the time because I had a father who was a bully and violent and mean and not like a father, a parent should be. Luckily, I have an amazing mum and she was there looking after us, giving us unconditional love, but he was vile, frankly. And yeah, you know, he'd put his key in the door when he was coming in from work. We'd all scatter because we just didn't want to be around because we were walking on eggshells because we knew probably he'd start an argument or he'd be shouting or he'd find a reason to cause tension. And I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but, you know, on occasion he'd put his hands around my throat, he'd drag me out of bed in the middle of the night to shout at me. And obviously I knew that was not normal because I'd had friends with fathers who were not like that, but it was relatively normal in our household. Yeah.
So, and was it to all of you? And was he abusive to your mom as well, like just to the whole family?
Yeah, and I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. I didn't know neither did Mum. We didn't know what domestic abuse was or what a refuge was. I didn't tell a teacher, and not because of shame. It was just like, this is...
You just didn't.
This is the way it is in our house, you know.
And did you talk to your mum about it?
100%.
Because that's often quite interesting when I've spoken to other people that have been victims of it. Like, the whole family doesn't actually even talk about it.
Yeah,
and
no.
just deal with it every day.
Yeah, we did. And I heard your conversation earlier, you know, where you look for light in the dark times. There was a lot of dark humour, you know. And we'd go to my gran and my mum's sister, and those places were places of sanctuary where we would talk and we would laugh, you know. I don't want people to think my childhood was totally bleak because of my mum and her side of the family. You know, that was
Would she say
what we
to you, I
needed.
know this is wrong and this shouldn't be happening to you? Did she kind of talk to you frankly like that?
I mean, I think by a certain age, you know yourself it's wrong. You know, you look at my best friends' families, they didn't have an abusive parent.
Did you ever ask for help from, like, doctors, police, anyone at any point?
Yes. So I've got some of my mum's GP notes from back then. She went to the doctor, again, 70s and 80s, very different times, and so much progress has been made in terms of the way we talk about it now, the way the police approach things. But I've got some of my mum's doctor's notes, and she went to the doctors with a broken rib, and it says in the doctor's notes, husband trouble. And that was of the time, you know. We've learned
But nobody did anything?
Nobody did anything. There was a time when my father was hitting my mother and our phone had been cut off because my father hadn't paid the bill. I now know that was a way of isolating us. I didn't know that at the time. So I had to run to the police station, which was about 2 miles away. I was, 13, 14-ish. It took them 2 hours to come. And when they came, they knocked at the door. They were invited in for a cup of tea by my father. They never spoke to my mum. I mean, it's just, when you think back, it's unreal. But as I say, you know, there are some brilliant police officers who are trained now, who get it, who would never do that, you know.
You made headlines, of course, Victoria, which I thought was a really interesting moment whilst hosting BBC News this back in 2020 with the phone number of the National Domestic Abuse helpline.
Yeah.
And it was written on your arm.
Yeah.
And if for nothing else, you didn't know if people would have got it or not, whether they knew what it was, but if they did get it and they needed to get it, maybe that was the one moment during lockdown and all of that terrible phase where people were incredibly isolated.
They were.
And that was the one point that there's someone out here. There's help, isn't there?
I mean, you know what happened when Boris Johnson in lockdown said stay at home, and one of the first things that occurred to me was, oh my God, if you are in a home with an abusive parent or an abusive partner, you are literally trapped. And we saw domestic abuse rates soar in that period of time, and I did a panorama about it, and our research showed that police were receiving a call about domestic abuse during lockdown once every 30 seconds in England and Wales. I mean, that is just astonishing and shocking and totally unacceptable, obviously.
Never mind the children that wouldn't have been able to call. So what the numbers of that would have been, that we would never know that, because you talked about getting that real respite in school.
Totally. Going to school was amazing.
Yeah.
So when did it all end? Was it when you left home?
My mother and father got divorced when I was 16. And honestly, that was liberation.
Like Christmas.
That was Liberation Day, I'm telling you. It was an incredible
and that
feeling.
was probably hard for her to do, I imagine, as well,
Well,
in one respect.
I mean, she fell in love with someone else. And thank God she did.
Good for her.
And
saved her.
And her, I think together we saved each other. You know, we were, certainly as I was growing up, I felt I was trying to stand up to him more. I could never match him physically, but I would, you know, not react in a situation where I knew he would want me to react. But yeah, she met another man, he became my stepdad, they got married, and he was like a proper father.
Wow.
It's interesting, just sometimes when I'm watching you interview people, I just love the way you don't rise, you don't react, you just ask the same question again. And I just saw a flash of that when you were describing how you dealt with your
Well, maybe
with your
there's a
dad.
link. Maybe there is a link, because, again, I remember a time when I was maybe 15, I'd made some tomato soup for my tea after school, had my school uniform on. He was shouting at me. I looked at him and I was looking at him with contempt in my eyes, because I thought, you are, you know, I won't swear, obviously. And he could see it, and he just tipped the hot soup all over my uniform. And
God.
I think probably he wanted me to react, so I thought, I'm going to be really calm, just get up, walk over to the sink, wipe down my uniform, and not do what you want me to do. I mean, it sounds a bit pathetic, but
No, it
look, that was the
doesn't.
only way I could
No, it doesn't.
fight back in that sort of calm, composed way.
You just
has
think
he
about,
made-
just about the effect it has on children, you know? You just think you grew up with that, it's what you thought was your normal, and then you have
Christine,
friends who suddenly you think, oh, no, it's not. It's not supposed to be this way.
But I read somewhere, if you have the love of one adult, now it can be the other parent, it could be an auntie, a neighbour, whatever, the unconditional love, then, you know, there's a good chance you'll stay sane.
Yeah.
You'll get
Do you share this with your sons?
Yes, 100%, because my father, he's not alive anymore, he was their grandfather. So obviously we never saw him, because why would we? So when they were old enough, I would explain the reason that you don't see that grandfather is X, Y, Z, and talk to them about it. We're a really open family. We do talk about stuff. I think that is a good thing. Yeah. And so they're very aware of what domestic abuse is, what coercive control is, because I do think, even though, as I said, we've made so much progress and we talk about it, you have amazing campaigns on your show, some people still don't really understand what domestic abuse can involve, you know? Yeah. So, yeah.
It's not always the punch, it's what they can do to your head, to your mind, to allow it to eventually,
Absolutely.
Wow.
And you're such a testament, Victoria, to strength and again, telling your story and what this entire campaign is about, isn't it? You know, there'll be a lot of people scared to speak out. And most certainly there is help out there. Before you go, Victoria, I have to ask you about yesterday. We've been talking about King Charles and the Lorraine Change in Czech choir.
Absolutely, I heard them singing.
Victoria and I have been on stage at the Royal Albert Hall together, singing for the King. Well, I wasn't exactly singing, but it was all part of our Change
We tried
in
to
Czech
sing,
choir. Yes, I got really nervous. Anyway, another story. But it was a wonderful day yesterday, I believe.
It was really moving. It was really uplifting. Hundreds of people affected by cancer charities, obviously the King, who is having treatment for cancer. I met him, I met the Queen. It was And people just wanted to share their experiences. It was very, very moving, but you know, especially with the choir there, just very, very uplifting as well.
Yeah, my invite got lost again.
Oh, Colleen. Do you know what? They said you couldn't bring a guest, and you'd have been first on my list.
Thank you. See?
See?
Real friends.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It's always a pleasure to see you. And if you are living with domestic abuse, you can call the National Domestic Abuse Helpline. It's free, confidential and available 24 hours a day. Of course, if you are in immediate danger, please always call 999. That goes without saying. But if you're under 18 and living with an abusive parent and want to talk to someone, you can also call Childline on 0800 1111. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can also message someone on their website if that is easier to do. You can also go to our website, itv.com/loosewomen, which will tell you all about our Facing It Together campaign and other organisations you can call for support.